Welcome back to This Is Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me today, I have Ogunyemi Adamolekun, Executive Director in Office Enough, and Nnameka Obiariri, Investment Banking Executive. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board last week released the results of the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, as it is otherwise known. The published results show that out of 1,842,464,000 candidates, 1,402,490 failed to score 200 out of 400 marks. This failure rate represents 77% of the candidates whose results were released. The board's registrar, Professor Ishak Oluyede, disclosed that 8,401 candidates scored 300 and above, 77,070 scored 250 and above, and 439,974 scored 200 and above. Professor Oluyede stated that due to the board's stance on not publishing the names of top scorers and the variability of admission criteria among institutions, identifying the highest scorer might not be practical. Additionally, the results of 64,624 candidates were withheld pending investigation. For his thoughts on this development, I'm now being joined by Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, a former president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. Good to have you on This Is Live, the Sunday talk show, Professor Ogunyemi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben Abati.
Good to have you. Well, 76% failure rate in the recent UTME taken between April 19 and 23rd. What does this say, as some people are arguing, about the quality of education in Nigeria? If 76% will score below 200 in an exam that is weighted 400. Is this a comment on the education system, or it doesn't matter?
It's a very strong statement about the state of our education in Nigeria today. But you cannot isolate education. Education is just one of the institutions that are bedeviled by the general political and socio-economic crisis that our country is facing. And those who have been analyzing issues, they forget that we have not actually talked about the foundation for what we are doing. Like we used to say in my union, that the political economy of education in Nigeria does not favor the poor and the disadvantaged. The rich can afford to send their children to what you call world-class secondary schools, provide additional training facilities for their wards. They have opportunity for practice, extra lessons, and so on and so forth, in a safe environment. But what happens to the children of the poor and the marginalized? If we actually do the critical analysis of what we have in that result, and we narrowed, we profile the students to their socioeconomic background, you will find that over 70% of those we are saying did not perform well will come from homes that are seriously disadvantaged. They are coming from homes without electricity. They are coming from an environment that is not secured. They are coming from a background or school environment where the basic facilities for learning and instruction are not available. And when you now begin to talk about results in isolation, without actually bringing into focus the general operating environment of the schools and the disadvantaged conditions of those who write exams, I think that analysis that we're trying to do will be superficial. So I would say that when we break it down, we can talk of the Nigerian youth today that are bedeviled with general crisis that will cut across socioeconomic problems, emotional problems, insecurity situation, and the base value. We have the based values. Our society has perfected its own values, such that even what we call education now, many youth out there, they're just pursuing it just to be socially relevant, because their goal really goes beyond that. And that is why you can see primary and secondary school children who are already involved in training to become experts, or are already experts in what they call Yahoo Yahoo and Yahoo Yahoo Plus. So the values that drive our education are perverted values. Our political leaders do not prioritize education, particularly education of the poor. And what we see now is an increasing commercialization and privatization of education, such that it's suddenly becoming commoditized, and it is those who can pay will get quality education, and those who cannot pay will operate at the base. And that is why you also begin to see children who go to any length. I think we remember the case of Masoma. I think what the executive secretary of JAM called the Masoma saga. Masoma saga, that one was detected, but there are many others. There are many other youth that will also go that route. There are special centers all over, in spite of the efforts of JAM to curb that trend, where youths are trying to cut corners. And you find that those that are cutting corners now, they want to acquire certificate, not because they want to get education or they want to get fully educated. Because education is supposed to give you a new vision of life. It's supposed to program you for the world of work. It's supposed to make you appreciate the dignity of labor. But all those core values that drive a society that is focused, a society that is grounded in development-oriented programs, they are not there for us again. They have been washed away over time.
Professor Ogunyemi, well, in terms of the conduct of this year's UTME, the JAM registrar, Professor Isha Koloede, has reported some improvements. He said, in terms of infractions, there has been a very significant reduction due to the introduction of automation by JAM. And in terms of inclusion, the percentage of students who took the UTME, female candidates, rose to about 50.6%, up from about 47%, 48%. And then third, another credit that JAM claimed was that in Lagos, here in Lagos, at Ilewe bus stop, you know, one of the CBT centers there was a lady who came to the examination center, you know, cloaked in hijab. And the supervisor said she could not take the exam. But the JAM headquarters overruled them and said, no, there's no discrimination against anybody, because Section 42 of the Constitution does not say, if you like, you wear hijab. If you like, come as a masquerade, you can come and write the exam. You cannot be discriminated against. So you see this as, you know, good developments on the part of how JAM has been handling the exams. You've been a subject area expert, you know, curriculum, assessment, testing, and all of that. I mean, this is your core area.
Well, yes, thank you very much, Ruben. I think we must acknowledge the efforts of the JAM registrar in trying to leverage on technology to bring about improvements. But what we are talking about here is that why, in spite of all these efforts, will some people still want to cut corners? And technology or no technology, we have technology in the banking sector. But how do these Yahoo people, how do they bypass the technology? I mean, the other day we saw in the social media where the EFCC chairman said a 15-year-old guy, young man, was able to break into his own account in his presence. If this could still be happening, that a 15-year-old guy could break into the EFCC chairman's account right there before him, it means that there's nothing perfect about technology. There's nothing infallible about technology. Nevertheless, we should continue to encourage ourselves to strive for the best, because that is the best. It's only the best that is good for our country. What we are saying here is that the fundamentals, when you talk of quality education, the fundamental must be there so that a candidate can face exam without fear, without hesitation. In fact, in our days, you will recall that we were free to move around, to do practices, and to work with our peers in preparation for these exams. We are not trying to cut corners. Or if we had such instances, they were minimal. But these days, attempts to cut corners, are the order of the day. And that is what we are saying, that the government needs to do more to bring back the core values that should drive our education. And by so doing, we talk of micro and macro climates for education. The macro, the general environment where education is being provided, how safe is it? And what benefits? Like those who go pursue education, they are suspending pleasure, they are suspending reward, compensation, as it were. Do they believe it is worth it these days? Otherwise, why will primary school children be learning how to become Yahoo experts? So, we need to inject new values. We need to reinforce positive orientations that will make our children to see the worth in pursuing education, to appreciate the dignity of labor. So the result we are talking about now, they are happening maybe because of some of these things, the decline in the performance, as we have said. Maybe it's happening because of some of these steps JAMB says they are taking. But it may be good for us at the end of the day. However, we may be addressing just the symptoms without going to the root causes of the problems. Why will students want to cut corners? Why will students not be ready to burn the night candles, to fully prepare and face the exam squarely? I mean, we also heard the other day, I think part of their report, that a man came to impersonate for his son. I mean, what are we talking about here? So apart from the micro environment, the macro has actually rubbed on the micro. What are they teaching in our homes? Why are the parents so desperate? They see those who go to school as using certificates as meal tickets, even when the tickets are no longer available. They can assist their children to do what they call jackpot. So we put all these factors together, the economic, the social, the psychological, the political, and of course, the security dimensions. All those dimensions that we need to track to create the enabling environment for knowledge to thrive and flourish. Because until we can pursue that route of making knowledge to flourish and thrive, then we cannot produce those who will serve as models to the upcoming generation.
Okay.
I think that is where the challenge
Professor
is.
Ogunyemi, before I let you go, I mean, when you were president of ASUU, one of the major issues you fought for was condition of service, remuneration, welfare of, teachers, research grants, and all of that. Now, since you left office as ASUU president, President Tinubu has paid the arrears for the tertiary education level, both universities and tertiary education, health sector and polytechnics, and even backdated. And on this occasion of May 1 this week, he increased salary structure, consolidated salary structure, scale 6 by 35%, and also pensioners by 28%. Will you commend President Tinubu that he has shown some, sensitivity to the plight of Nigerian workers and particularly academics in the tertiary sector?
Well, you will please pardon me that I think the president of ASUU is in the best position to do this assessment you are bringing up. But the much I can say now is that I'm aware that the union's leadership, led by Comrade Emmanuel Osadeke, the leadership is engaging government on some of these issues. And they may not actually appear, they may not be as rosy as you have tried to paint. However, I think at the appropriate time, the president of ASUU will comment further on this. He will comment further on this. In the meantime, what we have been talking about education generally, is that, well, it's like what you do in the industry. The input, we inform the process. That is what goes on. Input now, in terms of quality of human resources. The teacher, the students, the instructional resources, the funding, and the infrastructure, and so on. Those ones, they will go into the system. We as academics, we as teachers, we have to operate with those inputs, to turn out quality graduates. And starting from primary through secondary to tertiary, until you have quality inputs in terms of these variables that I've tried to identify, you cannot have good quality products, be it at the primary, secondary, or tertiary. So we are not going to relent on that because, as far as I can say, it is not yet Uhuru. And Nigerian academics, in particular, I know they are not pleased because what we actually asked for then was a negotiated agreement. If that agreement has not been achieved, I don't think the goal we set out to achieve has been realized. And when you talk of tertiary education in Nigeria today, there are many state governors that are so reckless that do not even prioritize education. Take Edo State, for instance. Edo State governor now, you can imagine a man who is standing election, has introduced an aberration in the governance of the state university in Epuma. They have what they call SIT, that is not known to the law, that has overstayed his mandate, and the man has sent packing more than half of the lecturers, and those who are on grant are not paid for upward of 20-30 months. So when we have this kind of environment, and they are replicated all over the states, so when we have such environments, we cannot say we are really coasting home to success in terms of managing our education. And what you see in many of those states are what I can call facades. They like programs where they will bring World Bank officials to whom they have become slaves. They come and introduce some programs because they want to attract funding that they cannot account for. And so they will do some public presentation in city centers or capital cities of their states. And as long as we continue to do that, we are just deceiving the populace We are not going anywhere with education. And without education, we cannot achieve our dreams
On that note,
for development in Nigeria.
On that note, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, I would like to thank you very much for joining us on this Live Sunday talk show, except to say that the same Governor Obaseki that you just criticized increased minimum wage to 70,000 naira. And the people of the state are very happy with him. But I get your point. You've made your point.
By pronouncement or by implementation?
Well,
I think we should wait and see what will be the outcome of that. And let's see how that affects the education sector, particularly tertiary education sector in the state. Their College of Education there was abrogated by Obaseki, and all the workers in that place for more than 2 years, they have no placement, they have no income. Would they be affected by the 70% or 70,000 minimum wage? I think politicians just like publicity, and they want to fly with that. But the consequence is always waiting for them. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi.